It's like
Yes.
I want to make
Okay.
sure
We
you're
are.
ready. Okay, thank you. So like I said, guys, we're spending 4 to 5 years, um, 4 to 5 years in college to pursue a career, but rarely we do put intention and time and how to study and how to become better parents. Okay, so today is a good chance. Like I said before we started, uh, it's very important to learn how to become a parent, especially if you don't have kids yet. Because when you already have kids, it can be, I would say, you'll be distracted. Okay, so who is this class for? Okay, so who is this class for? So this class is for future parents. How many of you here are future parents? For young parents, yeah. So if you already have a kid and they're like a year old, 2, 3, 5 years, this for you. Single but not but curious. You know? So I'm just like, I'm single, but I'm curious what this class is all about. And of course, veteran parents looking to spice things up, whatever that means, right? So yeah, so if you fall to that criteria, welcome to this class. First things first, let me just talk a little bit about myself. So I'm married to my wife, Joyce, and we have 2 kids. Uh, their name is Kara and Kairos. They're 5 and 3 years old. I'm a homeschooling dad. That means that I'm very hands-on in terms of teaching my kids. I taught my daughter. I think one of the accomplishments that I can be proud of at this point is teaching my daughter how to read and write. I didn't, I never imagined it's that I can teach someone how to read and write. And then I own a vacation rental business, so I'm a vacation rental entrepreneur. However, we're pausing that business now, and what I'm doing over the past 30 days, I've launched what's called like a business online launch consultancy. It's called adsphoria.com. You can head over there. I do coach at 9to5entrepreneurs.com also. Okay, so yep. But what's more important, it's just like why you might be asking, like, why should I listen to this guy? Why should I listen to this guy? So I'm gonna share to you. Let's see if this will work. Okay, see if this will work. I'm going to share to you. Let me just pause presentation. Like a testimonial from one of my clients. No, that's really the perfect. I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear it?
Cara, you need to say this. I have the greatest
Yes, we can hear it.
world.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I get the greatest dad in the whole, in the whole world.
Thank you, Cara.
So I hope that that clears it. I'm really a great dad, no? Because she's following what I say. Give me a second. Where's my presentation? Kidding aside, no. Kidding aside, we're all learning. We're all learning. I'm learning every single day and how to become a better parent to 2 kids. And I was thinking about, that's exactly what I was thinking about. I was thinking about like one of the best compliment for a parent is to hear their kids. Not like that. That one I have to so hold my kid to say that. No? But one of the best compliment is to basically hear that from your child, especially when they're older. Okay, so they have. Thank you. Thank you for Kaya. She's cute. Yeah, definitely. Um, so before we move forward, let me just tell you, that I'm giving away. So one of our attendees here is actually an author and speaker. His name is Al Argo, and he's giving away his book in Amazon. So I'll send you the link right before we end this talk. Is that good? Good deal? All right. So it's actually a children's book that you can read to your kids, or you can read to your wow. Al, thank you so much for donating our your book. So you get a digital copy of, I think it's like his third book. There's four books. He's gonna release a book, I think next week or this week, and then he's giving away his third book, which is a children's book, which is perfect for our topic today. Giving away that. So I'll send you the Amazon link to that before we will end. So stay tuned, okay? All right. So is that good? All right. So let me just tell you a story. I have two kids. When it's gonna be a juicy, hopefully a juicy story. But when my wife got pregnant, you know how is it in the movies? Like when they learn about like they're pregnant, they're like shouting, ah, and they were just rejoicing. Mine is kind of different. I'm kind of honestly, I was confused. I was so confused. Like I don't know how to react to this. We're 2 years already in our marriage. We already planned to have a kid, but I was still kind of confused. Like, there are a lot of questions whether am I gonna be a good father? I'm gonna be a good dad, and can we actually do this? And Charm was saying like, I'm kind of worried, right? If it's challenging to bring someone into this world and actually rear someone. And that's actually a very valid concern. That's actually a very valid statement because that's another human being we're talking about, right? It's another life. Okay, so it's not like we're rejoicing when we were rejoicing, but in my mind it's like I have like a different feeling. Like, um, there's a lot of doubts also that went to my mind. And that time, me and my wife, we have a decision to make. Either we wing it or we're gonna crush it, right? Simple decision: wing it or crush it. So we know that if we're gonna wing it, I mean to say we're not gonna do any planning, we're not gonna talk about it. We will default to how we will be parented. Normally, that's our parenting technique. The default parenting technique is how you were parented. That's gonna be your parenting technique. If you're not gonna plan it, now that is gonna be awesome, right? If awesome, your childhood is awesome, right? But if you feel like, oh, there's kulang, no? Here and there, then obviously there's some things to improve on. Now, note this: this is not a shot at your parents, not a shot at my parents. It's just that everybody, listen to this: everybody is doing their best with the information that they have at that time. Okay, everybody's doing their best with the information that they have at that time. So if, for example, you feel like, oh, my parents didn't really, or my mom or my dad or my papa or my mama or my nanay or my tatay didn't quite did a good job, no? Let me tell you this: they did what they did their best with the information that they have. Okay, so now you have a chance to do your best with the information that you have. Now it's your turn to do your best with the information that you have. Is that good or good? All right. So this is what I found out. No, when I'm talking to my peers, I'm talking to like young parents like me, and even older parents. No, because I belong to every week before the ACQ, I belong to a group of people, that we meet. These are couples, like kind of a couples fellowship. And this is what I found out, that a lot of everybody, a lot of people, they actually want to become better parents than their parents. A lot of people would say, you know what, I want to become, or if their parents are really good, it's like I want to be at least as good as my parents. Okay, so if your parents are really good, congratulations, no? And then you really have a good role model. Okay, so this is what we did when my wife got pregnant. What we decided is we started to have a vision, kind of. So this is where we want to crash it, right? We started with a vision, and we imagined that our kids will be the most secure, the most free, the type of kids that will love life and would see good days. That's our vision. So it's very important. Like, if you're gonna have a kid, then you have to understand like what type of person that I imagine this kid to will be, right? You really start with that solid vision. and solid understanding of. Now, you don't have control about what will happen in the future. Huh? Just by having this vision, it doesn't mean that they're gonna turn out like that. But it does help you kind of understand where you're going. And because when we started thinking this way, I said like, you know what? I was talking to my wife. I said like, sweetie, I grew up with so much mental limitation, and a lot of the mental limitation is coming from my childhood. You know, how many of you have felt that way? Like some of the things, like when you're hesitating into jumping into something, you can actually trace back when you were a kid. You know, whether it's
Hello.
yeah, di ba? A lot of people are shy because some of them are shy, very shy, because when they were growing up, they're always told no. You know, this is what we did, what we do, no, and what we did with me and my wife Joyce, and what happened is what we realized is that like we form certain principles. So today I'm going to share to you like parenting is a very, I would say, a very huge topic, you know. But a lot of the times when people talk about parenting, they talk about behavior modification, the do's and don'ts of parenting, you know, what things not to do, what things to do, and there's room for that, no, there's room for that, and we're gonna talk about some of those. But when it comes to about to like anything worthwhile, we all have to start with principles, because principles is old, and meaning to say reliable. Principles is something that doesn't change with time. Tips and techniques and tricks will change depending on the technology and the time. But if you go back to principle, you will always have a guiding, meaning to say, a guiding principle in how you raise your kids. And so this is what we found out. Like we when we started envisioning, we said like, you know what? It's very important to have a guideline. You know, a guideline, something that would help us or govern how we raise our kids. And I'm going to share to you three. There's actually a lot of principles that we have, but these are like three most important things. Three most important things, especially if you have a small kid and you start with like rearing them in this principle, and you embrace this, and you understand that this is something that you will use. Okay, so don't be scared of the word principle. No, it's just principles are just truths that you accept. These are just core values, like the thing that you truly value, and this thing that you truly value will help you become better parents. Okay, so I truly believe this, that if you set a principle, if you set a governing principle, that you become better parents, because you will not be swayed. So like let me just share to you three principles, no, and right off the bat I'm going to tell you what they are. The first one is agape. I'll explain what it is, and the second one is identity, and the third one is security. So three things. To me, once you understand the first level, principle one, the second one are derivative of first level. So let me talk a little bit about agape. So agape is basically unconditional love. Unconditional love, you know. So agape is I think it's a Greek word, right? That you probably heard of, but it's called unconditional love. And what it means is that unconditional love is kind of deep, no? But if you think about it, in order to love unconditionally, we need to know what it's like to be loved unconditionally. We cannot give what we don't have. And so for people, you know, a lot of times, no, people grow up, they grew up with so much pain, grew up with so much, all this. Some of them have heart wounds, no? Heart wounds. And I'm going to tell you, those heart wounds would stop you from truly loving yourself, and in extension, truly loving your child. So that's kind of interesting in terms of principle. So the principle of agape means you have to first learn what is it to love, to receive love unconditionally. Okay, so so the reason for that is quite simple. No? By the way, you know, just because we're gonna touch a little bit on this, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my faith. No, so I'm Christian, right? So I'm just gonna, and this is basically I understand that this is a filter of how I process parenting. So to me, no human being is created out of love. In fact, if you look at a newborn baby, they expect you, they expect you to love them, to provide love. They're so vulnerable, they expect you to. It is said that there are only two, that babies are wired to be loved, and they expect that. In fact, there's a study that if you don't hold a child for a long time, no, they did this in times past, that they started experimenting on not touching the child while they're in the nursery, and a lot of the children actually either became ill or died. It's a horrible experiment, but it happened. Uh, Therefore, like the theory was, we're actually wired to be touched and to be loved, to be held. And it is said that there's only two types of fear that are wired in our brain. And one fear is the fear of falling. I forgot the other one. I forgot, but there's only one fear. One is fear of falling. Meaning to say, the rest is about love. And it is. I've read from a book. It's called The Four Agreements, and it said in the book The Four Agreements that um, we actually, parents actually teach their kids, or people actually teach their kids how to fear. We don't have to teach kids how to love because that's default. That's already default. They understand that. People, they understand what is it to expect love. So by default, like they're there, it's there, but we actually have to teach them how to fear. So principle A is agape. Like principle one is like, for us, it's like we have to be, we understand that like that there's no, like when you love unconditionally, there are no expectation. Now for you guys who have kids, you understand this. Like when you see your child, the first time I saw my daughter, yeah, there's just this feeling already inside of me, like, you know what, I love this kid unconditionally, without, meaning to say, she doesn't have to do something to make me love her more, you know. So you will understand this more, especially if you're single now, if you don't have a kid now, you will understand this. The moment you see your kid, you said, like, from this moment onwards, I'm going to live differently because of this child. So that's kind of weird. But so this is like core principle. Here's the other thing. What it means. It means that I love you for who you are, not because of what you do. I love you. Because sometimes, guys, we think like, we think about loving people for what they can benefit, what we can benefit from them, right? So agape means it's coming from a place of abundance, wherein, like, you know what, I'm just gonna love this person, as a baby, as my child, okay? So when you say, like, you know what, when you understand that the principle of unconditional love means to say, from this point onwards, this kid, I will never expect anything from this kid. I'm just gonna love this kid, and in order for this kid to be fully human, I'm just gonna pour everything that's inside of me in terms of love. And that means you're being patient, you're being kind. That means you honor the child. That means you're not seeking your own. So, like, for example, me and Joyce, Joyce is my wife. Me and Joyce, we always think, whenever we talk about our kids' future, we never give hints to, like before, I don't know if you've been part of this, like before, older parents usually do this, like, you'll be a future lawyer, you'll be a client. So we always, like, it's always this, and whose interest is that? It's actually interest of the parents, no? But so when you understand that you're operating in a principle of, I'm gonna love this kid, and I'm gonna make sure that this kid, or my daughter or my son, feels that they are unconditionally loved. Okay, so this is the thing. You want to make sure that they feel unconditionally loved. You need to say that you have to, you're not easily angered. Here it is. No records of wrong. You keep records of wrong. How many of you have the conversation, like, usually it happens, no, it's like boyfriend or girlfriend or husband and wife, no, there's records of wrong. We call it historical and hysterical, no. So so whenever the records of wrong will be so that's agape. No, agape is not that, no. It does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. Yes, it's First Corinthians verse 13. Always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Think about those things. So when you look at your child, so this is key to parenting. Like if you look at your child, you always persevere, you always trust, you always protect, you know, always hope. Okay, so the thing about that, and then I'll explain it more with principle number 2 and number 3. So principle number 2 is identity. When we had our first child, we understand that they should not find their wholeness outside of our love. They should not find their wholeness outside. So it is our job to kind of to make sure that like who they are will come out, you know. So it's really about being versus doing. Sometimes like for parents, it's easy to favor, you know, the more obedient child. It's easy to favor the more handsome, the more beautiful kind of thing. But I'm sure, like, you know, again, you go back to principle 1. Principle 1 is if you truly want to become a better parent, you know, in the future, you have to understand. You have to understand that it goes back to a decision to say, you know what, I want to make sure that the love that I will express to this child is not conditional, and therefore that child is kind of serious now. That child needs to find his or her identity because of that love. Now here's the thing. Have you heard of like times like there are like, especially in the movie, I don't know if this happens only in the movies or in real life also, that they will say like, you're no longer my child, something like that, if they do something really bad. Have you like, you can send me in the chat. I'm actually watching the chat now. So I mean, I don't know if you've heard that, like in Bisaya, no, for people, I hope people speak, a lot of people speak Bisaya, so I'm just gonna say Bisaya. Like, di natin ka anak, no? Okay na, ayaw kong tawagang mama. Kana. Yeah. So that's actually one of the greatest fears of any child, even grown-ups, even grown-ups. And so, yeah, that's right. So like even grown-ups, one of the scariest thing that any, like even for people who are grown up, for them to be kind of this, forget, like, I don't know, but basically murag dili na a child ay angkon nga anak. If you're not, dili siya angkon ng anak, but
Disown.
it is own. That's correct. Yeah, it's his own. For to be disowned is one of the biggest fear. Why is that? Because not ampon, but disown. To be disowned is like one of the biggest fear for adults. Even when we grow up, pero how much more you think like 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 5-year-old, or 7-year-old? How do you think they would feel? Think about the mental damage. Think about the mental damage, and you hear that really like easily as if it's a joke, you know. So principle 2 is like, you will find who you are, your identity. You will find who you are. It's the parents' job. Principle number 2 is it's the parents' job to make sure that they don't ever doubt their identity. You never doubt that they are our kids. So even ampon, no, even if so for maybe some of you here are kanang unsa na ampon, it's
Adopted.
adopted.
Yeah.
Even if you're adopted, no, and then your adopted parents also, if they will tell you that, look, if they're working on a principle of identity, they will say, look, I know you're not biologically our son or daughter, but we take you as our own. You are family to us. That is working from principle of identity. And so if you think about this, the kids, if you for future kids, you should never put them in a situation where they will doubt your love. They will doubt who they are. They will doubt if they're still part of the family, if they're still accepted. No, that's really cool. So So like, how do we do this? Every time my kids commit mistake. So for example, like just today, my son broke a glass for water, and he was scared because of course he saw that glass, and then our some and the people in the house were like horrified, like and then he went to us, and I told him even before he said the first word. I said like, son, it's okay, we love you. Son, it's okay, we love you. Okay, I'm not angry. And the reason why I said that is because I already imagine, like, you know what, when I was very young, and every time I break a glass, like there's a lot of, yo, sana all. But you know what, DJ McForest, when you become a child and if you embrace principle 1 and 2, when your child breaks something, it's just a vase, it's just you'll find out, like, you know what, identity. Go back to like who they are. Okay, go back to establishing their identity. Because if you will not establish their identity, they will always find their identity basing on what they can contribute to the world, not basing on who they are, not basing on the love of their parents. Okay, and it is other people who will tell them now. They will always now. So here's the interesting part. If you will not establish your child's identity, they will look for their identity from the approval of other people. Does that make sense? Diba? If you're not secure inside, yeah, if you're not secure. So this brings us to the next line, the last one. The last one is security. And then our kids need to be secure in our love, security. So if security, the home is where they should first find love and acceptance. The home, because you know what? This is what I've seen. If you cannot find love and acceptance in your home, you will find love and acceptance elsewhere. I remember a story about this lady. You probably heard about this. This lady wrote sa iyang mom, no? And he said like, mom, dad, I just want to tell you like, I met someone, and yeah, he's addict. Yeah, he's an addict, but he's a really good guy, and he's kind to me. He rarely punched me in the face, and so far it's been a good relationship. I know he loves me in the inside. And by the way, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant now. Yeah, rarely punch me. I'm pregnant now, and so the parents who were reading that letter were so concerned about their daughter. But then finally she said, and finally she said that, by the way, I was just joking. I actually just failed, you know, one subject in college, but it's actually worse if that would have happened to me. So I hope you can forgive me, right? So my point there is like, if I know what I said, but my point there is this, some people, they actually go into relationships where they don't get respect as long as they get some level of love and acceptance. Yeah. So principle number 3 is really about security. It's if you're a young parent, your job is to make sure that your child is secure about who they are, and and how do we do this in practice? So here are just 4 things frequently do with my kids, okay, so that I will inculcate those 3 principles. 1 is affirmation. So I do affirmation to myself. I would say like, I'm this, I am created, I'm powerful, I'm secure. But I also tell that to my kids. I would look them in the eye and tell them, you're so special to me. I'll tell them that you're so special to me. Daddy loves you so much. You're the best gift in the world. And I will tell them that. And my wife also tell that to my son and my daughter. It's something that and why are we saying that? Is because, again, principle 1, principle 2, and principle 3. We want to make sure that they understand that they are unconditional love, that to us they are important, and they are secure in that love. Those 3 things. And so I like, one of the biggest compliment when my son went to a play group, and he was with one of the teachers, and I told my son, You are so, and my son added, loved by daddy. And to me, like, yeah, I did a great job there, you know, because I want them to understand that they are so loved. And so I think I like, it's been a normal thing for me and my wife, you know, just to hold our kids in the morning or in the evening, and we'll tell them like, you're so important to us, you're so loved, and you can trust us, and you, yeah, that's so these are very things. How many of you guys, you know, in the chat, how many of you guys experience the affirmation from their parents? If you say yes, please say yes, and then if you say no or rarely, like give me levels here so that I know what I'm dealing with. So affirmation. So affirmation, yeah, it is something. It is something I always tell my kids. You know, like they're all unique, they're special, and I would look at them in the eye and I just tell them like, you know what, you're my son, and I'm so proud of you. Now, I'm so proud of my son, or I will tell them, I will tell my son, and I will tell my daughter that I'm so proud of them, apart from their performance. Whether my daughter performs well in her class or not, I will always tell them I'm proud of them. So it said lots before when I was a kid. Now sometimes. All right. So is that your charm, right? So now think about it. Rarely for DJ. Really, that's fine, guys. So this is where we up the game. We up the game, right? And some of you guys, your love language might be words of affirmation, right? And you will thrive with this. Like, but even though your love language is not words of affirmation, like I've never seen anyone that is um, I've never seen anyone that is affirmed and they don't feel great about it. Like I was talking to a friend that we were talking about a project, and we're in a business together, right? And like, I don't know, it's just because I'm practicing this frequently. I always tell him like, you know what? Whenever I talk with you, friend, I said like, whenever I talk to you, I really feel like I'm talking to a very smart person, and that's true. This is just words that, you know what? I'm just comfortable stating good things, right? This is comfortable stating good things. These are good practice also with relationship. So these are relationship advice, not just for parents. So you can do this with your boyfriend, girlfriend. Just affirm them. You know, especially guys. No, guys need to be affirmed a lot. You know, just tell them like, I'm proud of you. Thank you for doing this. I'm proud of you. Like, well, also for what they're doing, but for who they are also. But for kids, mostly it's really for because of who they are. Okay, so affirm them. Words of affirmation. So James, you know, I know like sometimes we men, no, we cannot. It's very hard for us to articulate, but this is really a practice because, like, I want my daughter to be affirmed really early. I want the affirmation coming from me, not from someone else. Does that make sense? No. So, and my son, I want the affirmation coming from me because this is how I see it, guys. When I affirm, I'm planting a seed. These seeds, guys, when they grow up, they're gonna use this. When I'm not there, and they have problems, they will say, Daddy loves me so much. My life is too important. If someone will tell them like, hey guys, hey, let's do this. Like, let's put ourselves at risk. And they would think like, you know what? My mommy and daddy loves me so much. I'm so important to them. I cannot do that. You know, that makes a lot of sense, right? So the other thing, let's jump because it's already 9 o'clock now. Don't speak at where they are, but where you want them to be. One of the things I tell my teacher, the teacher of my kid, I said, please don't call my son shy. Tell him to engage more. Right? Just because a child is like shy and meek in the side, and you tell them, don't be shy, don't be shy. How many of you heard that? Don't be shy. You're essentially saying, you're essentially empowering the baby. So instead of saying that, tell them engage more. I need you to focus with me. And like what right now I'm teaching my kid how to write letters, right? And identify letters because we are forced homeschooling. Before my daughter, I'm only homeschooling my daughter. Yeah, speaking positively, that's right, Bianca. But before I'm only homeschooling my daughter. Now I'm homeschooling both kids now. And so I'm teaching my son. My son has totally different learning technique or learning inclination compared to my daughter. And he would give up after writing one letter. He would say, I'm tired, Daddy. I just want to watch TV, right? Or I cannot do this, Daddy. since and he's only 3 years old. I don't know where he learned that. So I helped him with affirmation. I said like, son, you can do this. Always do your best. Things that I do are very valuable to me. I said like, son, always do your best. Always try your hardest. And you say this with me, I can do it. And both of us would say affirmation. Okay. Um, Third, seek first to understand. So this is very, very important because sometimes when we're raising kids, no, and they're only like 4 or 5 years old, or even 7 or 8 years old, we tend to treat them like adults. We tend to expect them to perform in the level that we're doing. So when I say that, it's sometimes and like when we expect something from them that they cannot do, normally the result is always like frustration. And this is why I see parents being frustrated with their kid, because they're thinking, oh, you should not be doing that because that's problem. And then there's a lot of kasaba, and that's really. And then you here's what I found out. I found out that here's what I found out. I found out that when you stop and seek to understand their context, that's not really what they're trying to do. For example, my son is very fond of wearing my wife's shoes, the heels, you know. So he's only 3 years old, right? And people around me freaks out like, oh, why are you doing that? No, you should not. Then they will start telling my son like, you're a boy and you should only wear that. Da, 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 da. But how many of you understand that my son didn't understand that like these are heels and they should not be wearing? I mean, that's not for him. How many? He doesn't even have the context of what's male or female, you know. And yeah, he's just playing, right? He's basically, we're putting malice in like his preference at this point. You don't really know. To him it's all like flat, right? And so to me it's like, oh yeah. And this is what I understood, like when I started listening to him, he's actually very fond of his mom. And so because he's so fond of Joyce, my wife, he likes to like use my wife's stuff. you know he loves like whatever. He's like if this is my wife's comb, she would hold it. He would hold it, wear it, whatever, right? And so now with that paradigm, without thinking, I'm just like thinking, oh, you know what? That's all it is. I don't have to add layers of interpretation. So then this number 4 is the last part. The last part is this: physical touch. Be like, especially for young parents, and this is for guys also, guys, no? Because we men, no? we tend to, the way we're brought up sometimes, we're not fond of like hugging our kids, or not being hugged also enough. So we're doing the same thing with kids. But you know what? How many of you know that, like, especially with our kids, that they need our hug and attention? So shower of hugs and kisses, shower of hugs and kisses. Okay. So now all of these are practices basing on the principle, and we always go back to the principle because it's very important to understand that, like, these are techniques and tips, but it's coming from a place wherein 1 is unconditional love, 2 is identity, and 3 is security. Okay, so what's next? No, what's next? Squeezing soon. So what's next is sorry, what's next? So guys, for those who are future parents, practice affirmation. Like I said, you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have. Okay, and use words powerfully. Use words powerfully, so that you can practice the principle. So if you're a future child, a future father, a future mother, like James here, I want you to understand that, like, you have so much influence over your child. In fact, they said that the first 12 years, or was it 7 years? The first 7 years is very crucial. So this is how I see, and I'm gonna end with this. Then I'm gonna do a giveaway. This is how I see my season now as a father. My season as a father. This is planting season. this is planting season, guys, because the first 7 years I'm gonna plant so much, right? Of course, it's not gonna end after the 7th year, but I'm gonna tell you, like the first time, the first 7 years, I'm just gonna shower and plant so much in their lives because I want to make sure, guys, that they were gonna grow up uh, secure. They're gonna grow up with a sense of who they are, and they're gonna grow up like they're full of love. Okay, so I hope you learn something from that. Before I'll go, as promised, this is the book we're giving away. Just go to Bitly. I truncated it because when I check Amazon, it's very long. So just go to Bitly/parenting 101 giveaway. Okay, bit.ly/parenting 101 giveaway. Now it's set to 0. So if you will buy it from Kindle, you can thanks Al Argo for this. He's actually, I don't know if he's here though. If he's here, he's not here. Uh, so Al, is one of the authors. He's actually he's here in Cebu. He's here in Cebu. So you can read one of his books, and right now it's set to 0, so you can buy it at 0 credits. Okay, so guys, I hope you learned something from that short class. And yeah. How do you go with this? Like a question and answer or something?
Yeah, if you guys have any question, then feel free to chat them